little bit of an introduction as to who we are and obviously why we're here. So Third Republic, where I'm from, we're obviously a leading Mulesoft recruitment specialist, working with end customers, so Mulesoft end customers and Mulesoft partners across Europe, across the UK and Europe, and building those teams of talent. And the main reason, I guess, why we're here is one of the biggest questions we always get, or the question we get, and I think Mulesoft get as well, is where are the Muleys? Where are the developers or architects once the platform's being brought and embedded within a business? How can they go and build it out further and obviously achieve what they want to do? And it is very hard to sometimes go away, and find those people that are either looking for a new position or a new job and looking to move into a new business. And there aren't many people of that sort of caliber of what people, companies are looking for anyway. So one of the reasons we partnered with Mealsoft to do this is to almost, create more, bridge that skills gap, create a wider pool of Muleys, whether, at different levels, whether it's junior people coming straight out of, sort of apprenticeships or computer science degrees, or even, straight into Mule 4 as a career change, or people that have that prior software engineering skill set, Java, Python, Apex, or others that can add Mulesoft into their repertoire, into their skill set, and really create more hireable talent within that Mulesoft ecosystem. And hopefully today or tonight will give you a bit of an insight or an idea into what you can do, what that means, how you can go away and build that, and get to that level, whether it's through sort of self-learning, through the training, the certifications that Mulesoft run, and a bit of an insight into what that career path looks like. So yeah, as I said, I mean, like myself, probably only for a couple of minutes, you'll hear from me as to really around why we're here. Outside of that, we've got then obviously, so Sunil comes from a Java background originally, into his position now, so Mulesoft integration lead with Virgin Media. Alex, who's one of the principal Mulesoft instructors, I know a strong background from him in that Java to Mule aspect, that Java to Mule side of things, and bringing those guys through. And then Francis, who quite a varied background, I think, for Francis initially on the operations side, if I'm right, coming in sort of prior to Mule, and a lot of securities and that aspect, bringing those guys in. And I guess a term you'll probably hear a lot around the Mulesoft ecosystem and what is that, and why get into it. And I think Alex can talk to you a bit further from a skill set side as to what he's seen people coming from the different areas and how to add that in from a technical point of view. But I guess some of the main points from my side that we see is, I said, the reason we're here, the number of jobs within the Mulesoft environment at the moment, that companies are looking to hire these skill sets. They're struggling to hire the skill sets. They want to, across different levels, as I mentioned, whether it's somebody coming new into tech, someone from a different integrations background or a software engineering background, the number of jobs that are available within that. And really, I mean, I see it from a recruitment point of view, where most people are looking, if decent candidates are looking to switch careers, if they're open to it, they're ending up with 2, 3, 4 offers of companies that want to hire them at the moment. With that, obviously, salaries as well. I mean, we've seen as an average, probably, I think, roughly about a 20% increase in tech salaries. Mulesoft included across the board at the moment, from junior developers through to architects. If I'm giving you some insight into the levels, if I'm saying a junior Mulesoft developer, somebody that's completely greenfield, 6 months experience, 6 months professional experience Mulesoft, at the moment those guys are looking at around 40k base salaries. Developers as a whole, as they get more experience, that ranges through from your 50 plus through to sort of 75. Then your lead developers, your SMEs, I guess your subject matter experts, your 85k into your architecture, going through to anywhere sort of 110k base salaries upwards. That SME side as well, the autonomy that comes with a lot of Mulesoft customers, and going in via a consultancy as well, especially with new customers, is that chance to really take that ownership of the platform. Not just sitting there and code, not just coding, not just building APIs, not just you know, a company said, well, this is what we want to build. Actually having that input as to why they're doing it or what they're looking to achieve, right? What a business are looking, why they've brought Mealsoft, what their end game is, and you as a developer or an architect, or you know, as an SME, having that insight to pass on to them of, well, this is what you want, this is how we can go and do it, or this is how we can monetize this is how we can build these APIs, we can build your Mulesoft, your platform across the business into different areas. And having that, you know, being that expert, that having that platform ownership to go and do that. The speed of that career growth within Mulesoft at the moment is a bit sort of exponential. Like I say, you've got 6 months experience. As soon as you're 1 year, 18 months, 2 years, you're moving into that SME within a business a lot of the time. You know, you're really getting entrusted by companies to go and do that there, and they're wanting to reward people. And as more and more, both, you know, be direct with a company or via a consulting partner, they're needing to grow that platform. And there's not many companies that are really, you know, they go in and they think, okay, look, we're going to hire one Mulesoft expert and that's going to do us, that's going to do our platform, that person's going to be able to lead it out. They're needing to grow that, and whether that's through, you know, direct hires themselves, their own teams, or using the SI partners, using that to implement the platform, or a mix of having a few people in-house and supplementing that. The speed of which you can grow your career within that at the moment is really, it's month by month rather than year by year. We've seen a lot of people, I think, you know, myself coming into the Mule ecosystem roughly 4 years ago, a lot of the guys that I knew that were very good developers at that stage are now people that I talk to as platform leads. They're owning the Mulesoft platform within businesses, either or they're owning practices, you know, within consultancies. They've really sort of shown, and that's only going to, I think, with what we're seeing in terms of the customer growth and ecosystem growth, that's only going to progress. And yeah, again, that's why we're here today, to try and bridge that gap a little bit more, to try and bring those guys in, different backgrounds, different experience levels, different skill sets. But yeah, I mean, look, that's all you're going to hear from me. I will pass you over to Sunil.
Hey everyone. It's good to see some familiar names in this list of participants. I mean, I know we're all working from home for the last couple of years. It's a shame this is not in person, because it would have been good to catch up with a few of you. But for those of you who don't know me, I'm Sunil Kumar. I'm currently a Mulesoft integration lead at Virgin Media, and as Jonathan touched upon, I started my career really as a Java developer. So for the next 10 or 20 minutes, I'm going to talk to you guys about the path or the career and how it's led to me being a Mulesoft lead. I always like these meetings to start or be informal. I know we've all probably had a long day of work already, so the last thing we want is to be bombarded with data or integration. So it's going to be quite high level. Apologies if everything I mentioned is something you already know. But yeah, I'm going to start around a bit about myself. So I'm from Birmingham, England, if the accent didn't give it away. I've been in meetings with a lot of people who, when I mention I'm from Birmingham, their first reply is that near London? It's probably around 1.5 to 2 hours away, centrally in England, in the Midlands. And I'm currently at Virgin Media, and we've recently merged with O2, so we are now one company, Virgin Media O2. And one of our recent offerings, you may have seen the advertisements on the TV, is what we are branding as Volt. And the reason I'm just showing that is we have leveraged Mulesoft really to bring the power of both Virgin Media and O2 together to offer, I think it's like double data, double speed to customers of both. So you may have seen TV adverts or billboards. So quite high level kind of customer success story as is. Mulesoft's been used to kind of integrate between the different systems. And I'm just going to touch upon where I started and how I got into Mulesoft, why I chose Mulesoft as a career path, and how we can kickstart a career in that as well. So when I first started my career around 6 years ago, it was really focused on your out of the box open source tooling technology. So Java, Spring Boot, Apache Camel to help out with integration. And we were also using WSO2 API Manager. So a whole mixture of different open source tools to create APIs, integrate between different systems. And you may already know they work fantastically. At the same time, one of my memories of working with all these tools was obviously integrating between each different system, but also where to look when things went wrong. Who do you speak to when an open source component you're working with doesn't work as it's expected to? And also, what do you do when you're integrating with a really old system? Is that something that is already exposed as a component, or is that something you'll have to write from scratch as a new piece of code integration? That kind of led to a lot of questions being raised in the workplace and elsewhere as to, have you heard about Mealsoft? Mealsoft can do a lot of these things that we're offering, but in a lot of a shorter time period. So that's when I really came up to grips with the Mulesoft ecosystem, the Mulesoft platform, which is known as Anypoint Platform. And this is really where I mentioned Java, Spring Boot, Apache Camel, API managers, all open source or different kind of platforms or tooling built into a platform. Anypoint Platform is Mulesoft's offering, and it's really a single unified integration platform, which really allows you to design, develop, run, govern, secure, manage all of your APIs and integrations, as well as promoting engagement within your business, which I think is really important. And I'll touch upon that a bit later on. So again, what makes Mulesoft stand out compared to other competitors on the market or other tools that you may already be using? One of the main ones for me is the whole approach to connectors on the platform. So there are, I don't have an exact figure, but there are hundreds and hundreds of pre-built connectors for different systems all over the world, whether they're modern systems or legacy systems. And these are available publicly across the Mulesoft exchange. So you can literally search on the exchange for different connectors. And if one exists, you can import it into your API or Anypoint Studio, which I'll also touch upon later on. But with these connectors, you can have centralized, simple configuration. So if you're working with HTTP components, you can have one configuration for many components and vice versa. But something that I've seen that's worked quite a lot or really well in the last couple of years as a Java developer is there's a public marketplace for connectors. So there's a big opportunity in Mulesoft. If there is a connector that doesn't exist for a system, or as a developer, you'd like to have a go at creating your own connector, there's a Mule SDK where you can create connectors to be used, published to the exchange or published to the marketplace. So there's a chance for monetization here. So I think the exchange on the platform is publicly viewable. You can go on there and have a look at what connectors are currently offered. So that's something to look out for. A couple of points here as to what I've found in the last couple of years in Mulesoft, which has kind of kept me here and not moved me to one of the competitors in the cloud space. So the first one being, as someone who had a Java development background in university, but also in industry for a couple of years, I found Mulesoft really easy to learn. I don't see it as you're moving away from a Java development background. It's something as an enhancement. You're adding it on top of your existing knowledge. And some of the things we do on a day-to-day basis in our Mulesoft environment here at Virgin Media, I mean, we have custom Java connectors or components where we're calling out methods or Java classes. So it's not something where I've left my Java career. It's actually just enhanced it and added onto it and kind of made life easier with the form of integration that Mulesoft offers. As well as that, Mealsoft also offers recognized certifications, and I think just from a kind of personal use case, I would not say I'm the best or was the best Java developer, but I think I gained my first Mulesoft certification 3 months after learning or getting hands-on with the platform. So that was just going through a lot of the training that you'll hear about this evening, but also how-to guides, videos, salary opportunities. And this is something Jonathan touched upon earlier, right? Well, let's talk about the last 6 years. I've seen Mulesoft start from a platform that was becoming a leader to the demand for Mulesoft expertise or roles, especially as an ex-Java or Java developer going into Mulesoft, just going off the scale. I mean, I believe it's only going to get higher and higher, but in my experience, the reason why the salaries are so high is just because Mulesoft demand and Mulesoft companies or customers really need this expertise, and that's why I think it's really worth getting to grips with. The last couple of points, I mean, we've spent the last couple of years in a pandemic, and a lot of us now have worked to a work from home environment, and I know that works for a lot of us. I personally could not see myself going back to an office 5 days a week or commuting hours each way. But another thing that really keeps me in the Mulesoft ecosystem or with the Mulesoft platform is the global community. Online, you'll have Mulesoft meetups such as this one, as well as in-person events, evenings, monthly meetups. So you feel like you're part of a big community. You always have the opportunity to reach out for guidance, tips. You want to work on an integration, you don't know where to start. I can almost guarantee to you that the forums, the community, the Mulesoft, the Muleys, they call themselves, we call ourselves out there, will definitely help out. And yeah, it's a good community to be a part of. So I'm just briefly going to touch upon Anypoint Studio, because this is one of the first things that I got hands-on with at Mulesoft, and I thought, hang on a minute, this is really similar to everything I've learned in the past couple of years. So Anypoint Studio, it's completely free to download and install, play around with, but it's also an Eclipse-based IDE. So coming from a Java background, like I said, it wasn't something like, oh my God, I need to learn a brand new product. It was this looks exactly like what I've been working with in the past. I know how everything works. I know how to set up the preferences so that if I wanted to make it night mode, dark mode, even to that granular level, it works, right? So as an ex-Java, well, not ex-Java developer, as a Java developer who moved to Mulesoft, one of the things where I think it's really easy to kickstart working with Mulesoft is you don't get tied down with working out how to develop, debug, test your APIs or integrations, because it looks exactly how you'd expect Eclipse to. So stepping through code, having logical unit tests throughout where you can check out code coverage, all of this stuff is all in Anypoint Studio. So apart from the fact that there's drag and drop components, which in my eyes make things a bit easier to work with, the rest of it looks almost how you'd expect from your previous development. Another thing that's got me working with Mulesoft, or really bringing the forefront of integration with Mulesoft and the power, really, is DataWeave. DataWeave is Mulesoft's primary language for data transformation, and it's a functional programming language. So it really makes it easy to transform or add logic between different systems or work with data transformations. And one of the key features of DataWeave, which I always I say rely on, but always relate back to my Apache Camel Java days, is what Mulesoft calls as data sense. So if you're working with an API on integration in your usual Spring Boot Apache Camel, and you're integrating with for example, a SOAP endpoint on another system, one of the things I remember having to do a lot is read through documentation of what does this response model look like, what kind of data type is it, Now with DataSense, I've kind of put a small picture here, but once you've added an endpoint or you've added your request to a SOAP WSDL, DataSense will automatically populate your input and output or your request and response structures. So then you can just drag and drop, or you can have a go at just coding in DataWeave itself, the mappings between the two. Things like this make integration for me with Mulesoft just a lot simpler. I mean, it's less headache. It really drives the transformation from one system A to system B in a vastly short amount of time. And DataWeave itself, I mean, I know I've touched upon it as a really high level topic here, but it can do a lot more to a granular level that I don't believe is fully there in any open source offering at the moment. And one of the examples I just wanted to give with DataWeave is just this very simple transformation between a JSON payload to an XML with a couple of lines. The other thing I wanted to point out about DataWeave, I know if you don't want to download Anypoint Studio or the platform, I think have a quick Google search for DataWeave Playground, and you can just have a go at the just DataWeave in general. So you can take a guide, input a payload, and see what it will be like once you've just done a bit of transformations here and there. Thinking back when I started with Mealsoft, where did I begin as a developer? You've just got this new term, Mealsoft, and where do you begin, right? Now, I know Alex and Francis are going to talk a bit more in detail about all of this, so I'll brush up on it at a high level. Mulesoft offers completely free training material on their website. So this is in the sense of videos, guides, how-tos, including lab material where you can go off and have a go at Mulesoft integrations yourself, and then afterwards get the result labs as well, so you can compare against your own code. As well as this, there are hundreds of developer tutorials online. To add to that, one of the things I really struggled with as a graduate going up into the IT world is, where do I want to be in 5 years? So you've started as a Java developer, you've just learned what a graduate would at university, so a lot of textbook material. How does that relate to something in a career? So where does that go in terms of a path? That's a really key thing with Mulesoft. They offer really good development or learning paths. So if you're a developer and you'd like to move into architecture in the future, there are clear pathways that you can say, right, this is what I need to do to become a really good developer, and this is where I need to go to become a platform architect, solution architect, integration architect. It's really clear in Mulesoft, and over time with the platform, I guess you just really learn which area you like, or you can just fit into all of them, and there's nothing stopping you from learning every single piece, which is what I'm trying to do now, is trying to evangelize myself with the product. And of course, I mean, that's just the Mulesoft offerings. I think nowadays, YouTube, DZone, tutorials all over the internet, all you have to do is search in something like Mulesoft, and you will get hundreds of videos back, hundreds of guides, DataWeave tutorials. One of the great things that I've noticed with Mulesoft is anytime there's a new product offering from Mulesoft, you only have to go on the internet about half an hour later and there's hundreds of guides about it already. So the community, like I said, is really on the ball. Regular tech meetups, tech demos, tutorials, how-tos, and I know the guys are going to touch upon that, so I don't really want to go too more into that. Before I hand over, I just want to talk about the top tips for success. In my experience, really the first one is get hands-on. As a Java developer, I know, I mean, I don't have to say that probably to everyone on this call, but have a go at just downloading everything. I think it's free to download the studio, free for the training. Go on YouTube or anywhere that offers tutorials or training and just have a go at Mulesoft. Spin up a quick integration, a hello world, and just see how easy it is to use the platform. Of course, leverage the Mulesoft free training courses. The first thing I did, I believe, was the Mulesoft Fundamentals self-paced training course. So I believe you just sign up for free, and then you have access to videos that are recorded that go through theory as well as in-depth practical experience from some of the certified Mealsoft instructors. So that would really help you to get to even a certification level. I believe being hands-on and these self-paced courses can get you certified. The third one is just speaking from my own experience. So I was a Java developer and went directly into a Mealsoft role. And it was really the company I worked at the time who really said, look, in our experience, we think you'd be a good fit. I mean, it turned out to absolutely be a great fit. I mean, I know people who would look at something like Mulesoft and think it's completely different to what they're doing now as a developer. And from my experience, I can say it's absolutely not at all. If you have a strong background in development, you've got a solid base, something like Mulesoft should be quite really easy to pick up. Again, attending the events and meetups, one of the things that I attended last month, which I got a lot of great knowledge out of, was the Mulesoft Connect. And it really just shows you how big Mulesoft is, because I don't think a lot of people, it's something that obviously as a developer, it sits behind the scenes. You don't really know it's there. And just the amount of companies who are using Mulesoft behind the scenes for their daily integrations really blew my mind. And it just shows you how big the ecosystem is out there. Of course, as well, defining a career path. So that again happened, or I really got in touch with that once I started my career in Mulesoft. It was a bit all in the air without that, coming out of university as a graduate. But hopefully with the Mulesoft training pathways that we're going to touch upon, that will make a bit more sense. The final thing really is just an experience that I've noticed with Mulesoft as a platform, and how it kind of becomes, or how it makes the developer really the front facing driving force of the business. So in my experience, doing integrations with open source tooling is great. I mean, you can create APIs, you can create integrations that are used within the whole company, but with Mulesoft, with the platform as a whole, you have your application network. So once you've developed all of your different APIs or integrations between different system of records, you then have the ability to publish that to the Anypoint Exchange, which is basically an API catalog where everyone in your business can log in and view what you've published to this date. They can read documentation on how the API works, what is exposed between different systems. But this also drives the business to look at integration in a completely different way, in my eyes. Something I've noticed with using Mulesoft in various companies in the last couple of years is by promoting the use of APIs and reusable APIs, you get different areas of the business trying to plug in and say, hey, this looks absolutely fantastic, what you've done for the website. Is there a way we can leverage this for our mobile application? Is there a way where this system and this system can be brought together so that we can offer something else to our customers? So it's really a case of, with the use of Mulesoft and APIs and components and platform development, it's just exposing the data to the whole business. And really, as a developer, you become a subject matter expert in your field very quickly. So as Jonathan was mentioning, the growth is really exponential in the sense that you start off as a developer, but before you know it, you'd become the lead in your business, or you can become the go-to person of your business of this data, this domain, and this system really. So it's an exciting platform to work with. It's an exciting product. If you've got a strong development background, even if you don't have a development background, there are a lot of tutorials, training, how-to guides on the internet that should hopefully get you up to speed with Mulesoft. And if there's not, the community is always here to guide you along as well.
Thanks, Sunil. Just quickly, obviously, I think we just had a question pop up in the chat, whether you want to answer it or maybe even Alex as well. But Praveen just said, are you going to gain more opportunities by learning Salesforce or Java first or alongside?
In my experience, I mean, I'll let Alex touch upon this as well. I predominantly started with the pure Java experience and then moved over to Mealsoft. I have met people in the industry and also in work who have literally just come from just a Mealsoft background itself and are really up to speed to the same level. In terms of better opportunities, I probably would say no. In terms of my experience, it really helps to have that Java based understanding for things like the Mule SDK for Java, working with finer details in Java such as garbage collection, debugging, unit testing. But yeah, I'll let Alex touch upon it a bit more.
I think what I see as well is obviously a lot of that depends on, and again probably for Alex to clear up, but it depends what version of Mulesoft people are using as well, right? You know, I've seen recently people that have, you get it with Salesforce as well, right? They've completely career changed into Mulesoft. They come from, you know, have previously even worked in construction or retail, or you know, and they've gone in and done the fundamentals, like you said. They've done their training courses. They've got onto Mule 4, and they've built that up without any real sort of major, you know, computer science background. They you know, the opportunities are there. The training side of things is there to skill those people up as well.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the only final point I'd say is, I mean, if you think you need to learn everything before you get to Mulesoft, I think you'll be learning forever. It goes without saying for everything, really. I think the easiest thing, even in my knowledge, is to get hands-on, get in an industry where you can learn as you're going along. So if you don't have that Java or Salesforce experience, work with Mulesoft, and then get in a team where you can really get to grips with the best practices around it. Otherwise, like I said, you can just find yourself on a rabbit hole on the internet, going through all the guides and tutorials. So yeah, that's just my experience.
No, thanks, Sunil. Appreciate that. And yeah, we'll pass over to Alex.
I think it's important to make it clear here that to get started as a Mulesoft developer, you do not need to know Java or Salesforce. You can dive straight in and you can be a successful Mulesoft developer without having that knowledge. However, of course, as with all professions, as with all jobs, the more you know, the greater your opportunities, right? So yeah, if you know Salesforce, fantastic. If you know Java, fantastic. If you know, SAP and databases and design patterns and integration patterns, the more you can add to your range of knowledge, then of course the better. But don't feel that you need, like Sunil said, need to know everything before you get started. No, you can go straight in, learn how to be a Mulesoft developer, and then you can add technologies to your stack. So be reassured that it is a low barrier to entry to become a Mulesoft developer. Okay, I'll talk a little bit more about how we can kind of supercharge things a little bit with the knowledge that you can. So let's move on to the next question. What is the differentiator between Mealsoft and Microsoft, i.e. Power Automation Logic apps? Okay, that's a very good question. There are a few things that are worth mentioning at this point. I mean, this could go down into some rabbit hole and speak about this for ages, but essentially what Mealsoft provides from a business perspective is a quick way to develop integration applications. It allows us to build integration applications in a much shorter period of time than most other technologies available. So the development cycle is much shorter. This is supported by the capabilities provided by any point platform, which comes with the Mealsoft technology. And this provides us with a unified and integrated environment that supports the design, development, and deployment of Mule integration applications into any environment, either on the cloud or in our own cloud provider, in your own cloud provider, or on premises. All right, folks, so let me talk a little bit about Mealsoft certifications and training paths. And I'd like to introduce myself. So my name is Theedom. I am a principal technical instructor at Mealsoft. I've been at Mealsoft for around 4.5 years now. And I came to Mealsoft from a Java background. I was a Java professional for around 15 years. And throughout that time, I had delivered multiple projects in multiple different organizations, as well as also building up a career as a conference speaker, a book author, and eventually, towards the end, I was made a Java champion. So that's where my background is. And I come into Mule with a software development and architectural background. So this is kind of what I'm going to be talking to here. Many of you I know also have similar background. It might not be Java. So I'm going to keep it agnostic. I'm going to say software development architecture. Okay, so let's get through. And so the first thing I want to do is kind of give you the good news. All right, the good news is that you are already in a position to be a successful Mulesoft professional. As mentioned earlier, there are some really good reasons to move in to Mule. Or more to the point, let's not say move into Mule, let's say add Mule knowledge as one of your tech stacks. You already are a developer or an architect, you already are an engineer, you already work with some integration technologies. Well, let's add Mule to that to really give you an extra opportunity. As mentioned before, salaries are fairly comparable. And by adding what you currently know with Mule integrations, you really are skilling up your capabilities. And that's what I'm trying to show here in this diagram is the intersection between those who have significant software development or architectural experience and those that are Mulesoft developers. It's actually quite a small intersection. So by leveraging what you already know with knowledge that you gain by being a Mulesoft developer and architect, you really are putting yourself in a very advantageous position that you can leverage to boost your. And combined with that, as you'll discover in a moment, we can provide high quality training and certification to even boost that further. So just to kind of reassure you again, so those of you here who are developers, who have developer background, you already have a head start, right? You already have a head start with your current skill sets, with things that you already know. You are already in a very good position to be successful as a Mulesoft developer. So here you'll see on the screen, I'm mentioning certain things. For example, we're talking here about data weave that was mentioned earlier by Sunil. Well, this is multi-threaded concurrency functional programming language. It relies upon a functional approach to transforming data. It's highly optimized for the purpose of transforming data. And unlike some programming languages, it's not verbose. It's very succinct in the way in which it allows you to create transformations. And software development practices with Mule applications, it's exactly the same as software development practices with whatever you're currently doing. Okay, whatever you're building right now, whatever you're designing, whatever you're architecting right now, whatever you're familiar with right now, the practices are exactly the same. Okay, the principles are the same, the craftsmanship is the same, the troubleshooting of fail fast, defensive program, things that perhaps you're already familiar with, you can take directly and bring those in to Mealsoft. And again, if you are actually a Java developer or have Java knowledge, then your knowledge of the JVM, garbage collection, again, that leverages, you can leverage that again to give you additional advantage. And so on and so forth. So even Anypoint Studio, again, as Sunil mentioned, is based upon Eclipse. We've taken Eclipse, we've taken the code, it's open source, and we've made it our own, and we've made it work really well, okay? And it integrates with Maven, it integrates with GitHub, it integrates with Jenkins. You can use technologies that you're already familiar with to build out your application. So you're already halfway there, right, to being a Mulesoft developer. You just need to know a little bit how to actually build out your applications. And it's open source, okay? It relies on a lot of open source technologies. So again, this means that there are a lot of resources available, free resources out there for you to use to help you as you ramp up, as you learn how to be a Mule developer and Mule architect, and also to support you throughout your entire journey as well. In terms of the kind of career opportunities that are available, well, it's quite diverse. We have a range of career opportunities that are available, and there are three principal areas: developers, architects, and operations. So we can bring to the table many different aspects of what you're currently doing. So where you are at the moment, you can extend as a developer, you can extend into the developer. If you're currently an architect, you can develop and extend directly into the architect. Again, if you're also working in operations, you can move into that route as well. But as also was mentioned earlier by Sunil, there are training paths, clearly defined paths through which you can move to achieve your objective. We can start down here at the very bottom at the start with the fundamentals course. The fundamentals course is a 5-day training course. That teaches you everything you need to know in order to build Mule applications. It takes you through the entire development lifecycle, from design through development through to the deployment of your Mule application. And it talks about all of the approaches necessary to build out a Mule application, all of the components that a Mule application is structured for. Now, the way in which you build Mule applications is visual. It's drag and drop. It's drag and drop and configure to a large extent. And this makes the development cycle much shorter than it would otherwise have been if it were simply raw code. And this is why it's, if you already are a technologist, if you're already a software developer, already an architect, this is why you can ramp up quickly, because you're not having to learn a new syntax, okay? You're just learning how to logically put things together in a graphical way, very much as you would do if you were building out, say, some kind of flow diagram for your application. Think of a sequence diagram. Think of how you might just design an application from an architectural perspective. Essentially, really what you're doing with Anypoint Studio when you're building Mule application is you're very much doing the same thing. We call it a flow when you build out Mule application because that's what you're doing. You're talking about and describing how data flows through a Mule application from when it enters into the Mule application, the processing that happens to that data, and then how that data then gets moved to the next integration. So the developer course here is really your entry point. If you're coming in as a developer, that's where you will enter. Well, there are two principal paths I actually want to talk about and introduce you to here in more detail, and that's the developer path. The developer path starts with the fundamentals course and then can be extended beyond that. So you can move up to the far right here, take further courses, and these courses will give you deeper knowledge and deeper understanding of how to build out your application. Production-ready development practices course shows you how to take your application into production. You can build production quality applications. The production-ready integration course shows how to implement enterprise integration patterns into your Mule application. Things you may already be familiar with, but it shows you how to do it the Mulesoft way. But of course, there are other routes up through from developer to architect or senior tech lead or application architect. Again, here we have a route that takes you through to that level, the integration solutions course and another 5-day course, which shows you how to build high throughput applications using Mulesoft technology in a variety of different infrastructures, cloud infrastructures, on-premise infrastructures, our own cloud infrastructure, your own cloud infrastructure, or even if you're running it in, say, Kubernetes, for example, or OpenShift. So again, these routes are clearly defined and are qualified with certifications at every single point. Well-known, established certifications that will demonstrate a knowledge and capability at a certain level. So for the developer route, this is what this looks like. We have additional courses here to the right-hand side. You can dive deeper into data if you want to learn how to build more complex functionality and more complex transformations in your Mule application. Because it's functional programming language, you can do complex things such as writing Lambda expressions, doing currying and partial applications. Those who might have studied Haskell will know what I'm talking about there. So it's really sophisticated, and it does so in a really succinct and highly optimized way. Well, what about architects? Okay, what can we do from an architectural perspective? Well, I've talked a little bit here about how we can move from the developer route up towards the integration architect. But what about at a higher level? What about at the solutions level? So here we have those who are already architects, already are architecting integration solutions. Then this route is perfect, right? Because again, using what you currently know, leveraging that knowledge that you already have, we have a course designed and targeted specifically for the purpose of bringing you in as a Mulesoft platform architect. Of course, platform architect is responsible for the entire vision of building out what we refer to as the application network. It's a network of integration applications, the network of Mule applications. Again, here, wherever you're coming from and wherever you want to go, there is a learning path designed for you. Now, again, looking at this route, there are ways that if you're already, for example, a developer, like I've said, right, you have the knowledge already, you have the skills already, you know how to develop applications, and everything that you already know is directly transferable to building new applications. And this is why I can say this. I can say that you can fast track yourself, right? Ramping up and learning how to develop new applications, if you already know how to develop applications, regardless of the language you're using, regardless of the technology that you're currently using, if you have that software development skill, learning how to build new applications is very, very quick. I know, I did it myself. I came in from a Java background, building Java applications. I came in and thought, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I can build in 1 week what would have taken me a month otherwise. This is great, right? And what that means is if I build something in a week rather than a month, it means I can iterate the number of projects I work on. And the more projects you work on, the more experience you get, the quicker you can ramp up your knowledge and understanding, and the quicker you can do like a career ladder. And that's what we want, right? We want to be able to move rapidly from developer, senior developer, through to integration architect and platform architect, if you so wish. Again, of course, I'm being presumptuous here, assuming that that's something that you're interested in, but it's available, right? You can fast track yourself. Many people who do actually come in and take training with us, who do take the fundamentals training, may sometimes have very minimal knowledge of software development. That's fine, that's great. Maybe you're in that category too. And our training courses take somebody who has a very minimal knowledge of software development and make them a successful Mealsoft developer. But like I said, if you already have that knowledge, you can supercharge your progression. So what's the journey? Okay, so journey is, well, first of all, good news is we can give you some free training. Okay, if you want to start and you want to get started today, and I recommend that the first thing you do when you finish this meetup is you go to our training site, you sign up for the free self-paced training course. This gives you the entire fundamentals training course. This one here that I was talking about, this one, okay, this 5-day fundamentals training course, okay, is available online as a self-paced video-driven course for free. So you don't have to actually attend one of our training courses. You don't have to attend the fundamentals training course and take 5 days out of work. You can work in your own time at your own pace, working through the videos, working through the exercises, doing the DIY exercises, doing the labs, and learn the same as if you had actually taken an instructor-led training course. Because we want you to become soft developers. And even better is that if you complete that training course, that free self-paced training course, 100%, that means watching all of the videos, doing all of the walkthroughs, doing all of the labs, will give you a certification attempt for free. That is normally something you would have to pay $250 for. We really do want you to become a Mealsoft certified developer. So there is no financial barrier to entry at all. You have to put in the work, of course, and you have to devote the time. But again, you can do that. You've got the knowledge, you've got the understanding of how to develop, how to work with technology. You've just got to know how to do it with Mule. And that's what this training course provides you. Okay. What else can we do? Well, as we've already heard from Sunil, the community is fantastic. It's amazing. There's a lot of great people. Muleys are good people. Okay. They are special people. All right. And help each other, very much like the Java community. I know I was in the Java community for many, many years. The philosophy is to help, to support, to bring people along. And if it wasn't for the Java community, I wouldn't have got as close to where I had got to. If it wasn't for the Mealsoft community, likewise, I would not have got to where I am today. And there are meetups, there's Stack Overflow, there's LinkedIn groups. There's a lot going on. And of course, there are lots of free tutorials. We have GitHub repos with code. We have training videos. All of this is available to support your journey. So what is your journey? Well, as an IT professional, you attend a meetup like this meetup. Then you complete the Mealsoft training, the free self-paced training. You leverage the community, and then you take the Mealsoft certification and become a Mealsoft certified developer. Well, you've already completed the first stage. Okay, so you're well on your way to becoming a certified Mealsoft developer. So like I said, once we finish today, folks, your homework is to go away and sign up for the self-paced course and start watching the videos. Just sit there over lunch, over dinner, get your family around the table. Instead of watching Netflix, binge watch the self-paced training videos. It's really good. Kids love it. I can assure you, they think Mealsoft is great. Okay. So if you want to do that, there we go. I have here on the screen the link you need to go to. Go there right now, folks. Mule.is/developer fundamentals. And here's a QR code. So grab that mobile phone, point it at the screen, and it will take you straight through to the registration page. You will need to create yourself an account with our training site. Once you do, you'll be booked onto that course immediately, and you'll be able to access those videos straight away. Let's take a look at some of those questions in the chat window. Since the Mule Dev has some really nice free material, how would you prepare for the platform integration architect ones outside of the course? Is there similar free content? Can we expect more? So the free content really is very much focused around the developer, because that's the first step, right? That is the first step, all right? Now, what we're expecting is that you take the developer course, you get qualified, then you get a job with a company, and then you ask them. That's really the kind of route that I would recommend that you take. In terms of preparing for the platform and integration architect examinations, what we can provide on our website is, and I can probably show you this, if you bear with me one moment. This is training.mealsoft.com. This is our training website, and this is where you'll find all the information that we have. So in terms of the certifications for those two roles, integration architect and platform architect, here is, for example, if I go into the platform architect exam and the details for this exam. So we have a limited amount of material here, but what we can provide you is, for example, a practice exam. Okay? So if you have studied the material, you can then validate that you are ready for the exam. If you want to know what the topics that the exam covers, then they are detailed here. And again, the recommendation is to use this list as a checklist for topics for revision. Again, I will go through this list and check your preparation for the exam. We don't have any free material in terms of videos or training courses for this exam. We do have other free training courses. So I'm going to take this opportunity actually, folks, while I'm here, just to go back and actually show you, we don't just provide you with free fundamentals training, we actually have more training as well. So we have the Getting Started with Mule Robotic Process Automation as well. So again, folks, this is something that is actually very new for us. So we provide free training for that as well.
Somebody's going straight, you know, they're not a Muley, they've not worked, but they're going straight into that, looking at an architecture certification. They're coming from a background where they're either have worked in microservices architecture or you know, web methods, Booby, something like that, another iPaaS platform. And with that, obviously, without that content, do you see that as transfer? You know, are those guys, if they're going to sit, obviously have a look at it, but sit that practice exam, there is the transferable skill set there?
There is some. However, what we do is, because you already have those skills, what we do when we come to present courses is that we don't teach you what you already know. Okay, we teach you what you don't know, which of course makes perfect sense. And what you don't know, of course, is going to be how to do what I already know how to do, but with Mealsoft technology. So actually, realistically, I would strongly recommend, to be certain of success with those certifications, is to attend those training courses. I wouldn't say that you could dive straight into that exam with no knowledge of Mealsoft and be successful. That will not happen. It is specific product knowledge, specific technology knowledge, that if you don't attend the course or work out from the topics, which I showed on the screen a few moments ago, what you need to know, you won't be successful. So a course is going to be necessary to be successful. with those exams. Luckily for the fundamentals course, we do provide the free self-paced version, so you are then able to take that after having completed that course and have a good chance. It says, do you have any data weave exercises? We have some tutorials that cover data weave that include a whole variety of different examples that you can take a look at. So that will be in our developer portal. It will be linked to in the links that we send out at the end of today's session. What else can you do apart from integrate with Mealsoft? You could integrate with every technology that is available in one way or another. So Mealsoft is the glue that brings together multiple different technologies. So you can extract your data from a database, transform it into another format, and then pass it through to another API or to another internal application. Mealsoft integrates with multiple different technologies in a way that is simplified by virtue of what we call connectors, which are an encapsulation of connectivity logic to specific backend systems. By dragging and dropping those into the flow, remember we're talking about a visual integration development environment, you can easily integrate with technologies, easily integrate with systems that perhaps you're not experts with. You don't need to be. This is, of course, the advantage. So in answer to your question, what else can you do apart from integrations with Mealsoft? Well, what else can you do? Integration is pretty much what Mealsoft is about, okay? So it's about integrating. That's the purpose of Mealsoft. Different types of integrations. So we can do traditional integrations, such as point-to-point integrations. We can do ELT type transformations, for example, as well as API-led connectivity. What is robotic process automation? Watch the course and find out. That's the answer to that one. So sign up with the course and find out. Basically, robotic process automation is about automating manual processes. So where you might have a person clicking around different screens, doing different things to achieve a particular onboarding process, for example, you can automate that. And Mealsoft can provide a solution for that. That's a very simple overview of what that is. How Mealsoft supports integration tests. So if you want to do integration tests, then you use whatever technology you're currently using to do integration testing. Mealsoft doesn't provide anything specific for that. So most customers typically use something like Postman collections, and perhaps Newman to run things on the command line. That's one possible approach. What Mealsoft does provide is unit testing within the Mule applications themselves using MUnit, which follows standard unit testing framework approach. If you're familiar with unit testing, then you'll be able to easily use MUnit. Let me hand over to our next speaker.
Thank you. So I'm the opposite of Sunil. I'm probably looking to retire in 5 years rather than looking ahead in 5 years. So there's a vacancy. If you can work your way up to senior software engineer, you can have my job. But how did I get into this role? I mean, how long have I been using Mulesoft? I've been working with Mulesoft for 6 years, and before that, Java for another about 4 years. Before that, my employment history and education history goes back to manufacturing engineering and working with Pascal and very weird things like that. But the sort of skills that I've built up that have been applicable to Mulesoft, I started one company that did OllyDB on top of ODBC. So that's policies and transformations by another layer, a business layer on top of database connectors. I went through things like directory inquiries. So again, canonical models and standardized protocols. Then I worked with SQL and integrating Oracle databases and moving data around different ERP systems within the university. So again, data normalization, canonical models, and debugging things. So most of my experience has been either with project management or operations. When I came into Mulesoft, started off as a Mulesoft developer simply because they knew that I understood what a capability was and how to deliver a capability. And that's what Mulesoft does a lot of. We spoke about drag and drop and being able to leverage some of the features within Mulesoft. Very quickly, you can set up a proxy, apply policies to it to add functionality onto an existing application. So you don't have to think of Mulesoft as I have to start from the bottom up, developing system layers, doing error handling and working all that out. There's an awful lot of other skills that come into the mix. So setting up a deployment pipeline means understanding dependency models. And when things like the Log4j security issues came in January, people needed to understand dependency management, whether the connectors were up to date, how they could update that. Some of the other capabilities that I've delivered within my team that sort of come under the architect type role is with our on-premise applications, how to speed these up. So things like moving from Mule 3 to Mule 4 apps allowed the introduction of back pressure, which really sped up the throughput of message handling. So just simply taking functionality that was existing in Mule 3 apps and moving into Mule 4 sped up applications and reduced the memory footprint. Doing things like putting dependencies into a domain project vastly improved how quickly applications could be deployed. So 70 megabyte applications were turned into 12 kilobyte applications, which deployed in 12 seconds. That allowed for much faster iteration and development. So these are the sorts of skills that you need that are still count as Java, but they're all within the Mulesoft sphere. Log4j is another one, understanding the logging model and building a logging strategy. So you don't just have to be a developer developing some unit of functionality. You have to think of it as capabilities and delivering those capabilities to the end users. And getting into Mulesoft can come from a configuration background, which is pretty much where I came from, before you then go on to learn some of the more esoteric custom like modules and what else you can deliver that's on top of all those basic configuration type tasks. Some of the questions that people asked was, how do you learn up on these things? We've gone through the training, but there's also a wealth of meetups and recorded videos out there on YouTube. Over the last 3 years with the pandemic, a lot of meetups, Mealsoft meetups expanded and went virtual. Many of these were recorded. So this is YouTube. YouTube provides subscriptions, and I subscribe to 95 different channels where people have posted Mealsoft learning videos. Some of these are snippets that people have learned from training courses. Some of these are where people have made a new connector and are promoting it. Other times it's how they solved a problem, such as linting of code, standardizing their code models, or how they used Raml or Swagger as a new feature within the Mealsoft applications. I've got a Chrome extension add-in called Pocket Tube, and that allows me to build a collection of all these 95, and that gives me a searchable list. So you can see there's hundreds of videos. It just limits it to 500, but over the last 3 years, there's probably about 1,000. And depending on what you're looking for, so if you're looking for things like custom policies, for example, you can see that there's been 4 meetups in the past 6-9 months that you can quickly find and watch. So whenever I have a capability that's unavailable within my current workplace, that's usually my default place to go. Either I've been on these meetups over the past 4 years that I've been a Mealsoft developer, or I search through old ones that have been recorded and catch up. And that allows me to stay ahead of like my peers and deliver what I need to as a senior software engineer. Just to give you an idea of like what I've learned and how I've learned it. My team started off as a team of 3 about 5 years ago. At the beginning of the pandemic, there was a bit of juggling around of roles and responsibilities where we became fully Mealsoft orientated rather than looking at supporting the ERP systems around us. And then we employed 20 Mealsoft developers and integration architects from India via Cognizant. And one of the trends that I've seen as well, just going on Jonathan Manx's point about where the Mealsoft opportunities are coming from, things like security have really taught people to think globally, because security concerns happen globally. So Saint-Gobain as a company, we're a global company, but our IT didn't used to be global. We've moved to global in the past 2 years, and that has meant that we've centralized things. The UK office seemed to take the lead on that just because we're better at cybersecurity, but also because we understand, certainly Mealsoft, because that's where we started it, but Mealsoft has now been adopted into American manufacturing plants, it's been adopted into Indian plants, and my team are soon to take over the manufacturing division. So we'll be integrating things like streaming, statistical process control, and stock control type activities. So we started off as an enterprise service bus, moved into the API-led connectivity, but we're going to take on a lot more responsibilities. So yes, Mealsoft's always expanding in terms of what it's taking over, because the technology seems to supersede everything that was before. So we've replaced Bash shell scripts, we've replaced manual automations or integrations or SFTPs, so that we can control it better, have centralized logging, and feed that into our second line support. So I always think of my job as enabling capabilities, and Mealsoft has quite a lot that can be leveraged simply, as well as ones that can be developed and provided. So don't just think of it as Java development. If you're able to work in an agile sort of way and understand benefits realization as a project manager, that's essentially what you're learning with each topic within Mealsoft. So thank you very much. I think one of the points raised early on was, if you have Salesforce knowledge and Mealsoft, does it leverage better things? The more topics you know, I think, leverage the better pay. So iteratively learn and iteratively build your skill set, but always think what benefits you're realizing, and that's what you put on your CV when you're then applying for more senior roles.
I think that, like what Alex said as well, right? It's not necessarily asking people to come in and replace what they know with Mealsoft, right? And go down that path. And that's pretty, it's adding Mealsoft, or once you're in Mealsoft, it's whether it's Java or Salesforce, adding those skill sets into the skill set you've already got.
That's right.
And how that will develop you.
I do a lot of things like service contracts because I have an understanding of the canonical models. I do a lot of string manipulation with regular expressions, either for validation purposes or for data filtering and data cleansing activities. So you'll be surprised what individual skills can build up into delivering a new capability.
I think one of the things, I see a lot of, as well, a lot of, like you said there, Francis, the way Saint-Gobain has even progressed, like since COVID and what they've done, or even bringing in Mealsoft. And I think one of the things with Mealsoft and platforms like it that I see is you don't necessarily have to, even with skill sets, you don't pigeonhole yourself into like a vertical as well, into retail or finance or manufacturing. You can take that skill, you can learn that or be working with that within retail. You can take that into, a big fintech company, a big insurance company, or you can go from them into retail and manufacturing. That skill set and what companies are looking to do is around the tech, is around the platform, and you're not cutting things off by learning more.
That's right. A good example is event rather than RESTful connections. So async API and handling streams. Some of the big Mealsoft customers you might have heard of, Spotify, Netflix, of course, that's what they're doing, streaming and getting efficiency. So yeah, there's a whole host of things. And I would certainly say event queues and streaming is a good part of Mealsoft to know.
Again, thanks again, Alex, Sunil, Francis, for your topics, for your info, for your insights, for your experience. Hopefully, I know there was a few sort of reasons for joining us today, for signing up to hear those talks. So hopefully they were beneficial. Hopefully you guys got what you want from it. We're following up with the content like we were recorded. So the session, some of the links that Alex was talking about as well. We'll share all that round, and hopefully some of you guys will be taking some certifications or training in the not too distant future.